Hey everybody, Cindy Daytuck here with Queen Bee Creations. Not a big surprise, this is our next project, and a little bit of a different view gives you an idea of the back of the shop here. Definitely a workspace, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different with this. I have a finish in mind for the top that I want to give a go. So this was kind of the perfect piece to do that. I'm not going to paint the base of this yet because we're going to be doing a lot of water on the top. It would just make a mess of whatever finish I do there. So all I want to do is base coat the top, and it doesn't really matter what color. I just wanted a neutral kind of mid-tone. So I have Cathedral Taupe by Fusion open, and that's the only reason that I'm using it. I just need paint on there. I'm going to turn it upside down, paint the underside just because I can't leave it the only unfinished surface. But our special treatment will be on top. So I'm going to get it painted. I only need one coat on it, let it dry overnight, and then we'll be back to take a look at the fun stuff tomorrow. All right, what I'm looking to do is create a bunch of paint washes. And I'm looking to do a technique called Frottage. So I'm going to be layering lots of different paint washes on top of this tabletop to create definitely a soft layered effect. This color is Chestnut Mare. Chestnut Mare? No, Iron Clay. I lied. I had Chestnut Mare, and then I decided it wasn't dark enough. Okay, phone. So there's no set formula. You can make the paint wash as thin as you want. We're going to be doing so many layers, it's not going to matter. So we need this, and we need newsprint. I'm using newspaper because I got it. I just want it kind of crunched up first. Sorry about the noise. And we are just going to paint this on. So if it isn't as dark as I need, that's okay because I can do more layers. Never an issue. Even using an all-in-one, like this is a fusion color, even using an all-in-one, like fusion is okay with this technique because I'm adding so much water. Sorry, there's a hair from the brush. That's driving me nuts. Okay, there we go. So it gives you an idea of how watery this is as you're seeing this happen. So we've got our base color down, but ultimately we're not going to see much of it. I chose a color that in and of itself is not going to echo up so much through my piece, but is going to be a nice neutral base for it. Let me get this everywhere here. And this is why, because we're doing so much of this water, that I've left the base for last. I want to see what it ultimately looks like, but I am thinking that I'll probably just go black. So what we're looking at doing is we're just taking our crinkled paper and we're laying it over top. And then we're just going to lift it up. And it's going to have this mottled effect. And I just want to kind of dab around my edges here. And trust me, this is perfect. Now, lay your papers off to the side because you can reuse them, but we're looking at building the color. So I'm looking kind of going right now, we let this dry and then we do our next color. I'm not throwing this out because odds are I'm going to come back in with more of that color. I just want to get other colors in between it. So we're letting it dry and then we're going to come back in with our next wash. The one thing that's great about these washes is that they dry very quickly. Now the next color that I'm doing is actually sage. by Alchemy. And the nice thing about this is that this is the kind of finish that you can do using up little bits and pieces of paint. As long as they're all water-based, then you're fine, right? You can mix and match brands. It doesn't matter. So far, I've used Fusion twice in the base coat, the first wash. Now I'm using Alchemy. It doesn't matter. So because that first coat is very light, you don't want to be working the next layer very much because you don't want to reactivate any of that paint. As much as the first coats had sealer in them, as soon as I've added as much water as I did to create the wash, it really doesn't have sealer in it anymore. So just bear that in mind as we're going here. So again, I'm going to put this off to the side and hopefully don't trip over anything. My newspaper is dried again, so I'm using the same one. I just crinkled it up fresh. Lift that off to dry. Get my other piece out. Just go around my edges a little bit. And we're leaving this to dry. I am hopeful that I can get at least one more coat on before I go home for the night. So then I can carry on with more coats tomorrow. I'm kind of really close to the end of my day. Last coat of the night, I'm mixing up a little bit of Harvest. This is a yellow, and I'm going to make this one weaker. I don't want tons of the yellow. And I do know that tomorrow morning, or tomorrow some point, my next coat will be going back to the terracotta again, and we'll kind of take from there. So you can see this one much lighter, and that's just perfect. So same process, painting it on, using the newspaper, getting that mottled effect. My tabletop is mostly dryish to the touch, but it's not dry enough for me to carry on with it, but I am loving the look of it. What I do want to do is paint the base, and I'm going to be painting it coal black from Fusion. I want kind of this to look sort of a little terracotta-ish on top, and then almost like this is a cast iron base. So I'm going to get it painted out. I am going to start with one coat, see how that does. I'm expecting 2 coats will do it. And by then, we can start carrying on with what's going to happen here. This is our table so far with all of our different colors, which I am loving. You can really appreciate it up close. I love as well the contrast with that black matte base. So what I want to do at this stage is ultimately seal it, because as much as I used a lot of the all-in-one paints, we added a lot of water to it. So we've totally taken away any of the sealing properties. So we do need to seal it. I'm going to use wax. But before I do that, I just want to give it a nice, quick little sand. So nothing major. I just want to give it that quick little soft coat to break down anything that's on top so that when we add our wax, it's going to be super smooth. So I have a cloth that I will wipe all the dust away, and then I will apply my wax and wipe it back with a different cloth just to take any of the excess off. And then we'll be able to let that dry overnight and give it a good buff tomorrow. I'm really loving the look of this, though. It was a lot of fun. Here's our finished little table. I just finished buffing it. You could use like a buffing brush or a lint-free rag or this baby, which when you've got arthritis in your shoulders definitely is a blessing. But you can see with that wax, see the sheen that I've gotten on there. And because we lightly sanded it, it's so smooth. But what I love is that despite the fact that it's smooth, you've got this fabulous modeled surface. I've taken some close-ups for you so that you can see some of the beautiful intricacies of the patterns that you get using this technique, which you wouldn't get just straight painting. And I love using techniques like this, like on tabletops or buffet tops, rather than like a straight stain or just a two-tone paint, because they are so unique and they add so much interest and so much depth to a piece. So I hope you give it a try. You know, we did it with the newspaper, which would have been like with any kind of newsprint, even like the packing paper. You want something that's slightly absorbent, but you know, not totally, right? You can use like maybe a paper towel, but it's going to absorb a lot of your paint. You could do like a slightly damp paper towel where it's damp in some places, or maybe like a dampened and really wrung out rag, or like a slightly damp sponge. You're looking at removing some of the paint. You're not applying the paint. So if you're using sponges, different sponges will give different results. Obviously, play with that, have fun with that. But it's not going to give you that sponge-wear look because we're not applying the paint using the sponge. We're removing some of the wash using that. And it gives you very unique and very different looks, but always interesting and definitely fun. I hope you give it a try on some things. Take a look at the close-ups. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you as always. And I just think it's gorgeous. I love the contrast with the black as well, because then all the interest is on the tabletop, as it should be. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.